Well, I have a family, a husband who, no matter what meal is put in front of him, before he tastes it, puts salt on.
Now I'm starting to realize this is a big deal. I mean, Americans will understand this. We have medieval times, dinner and tournament. It was like that. Like I curtsied as though I was like,
yeah, look, what's a big difference of everything you just listed there is that Netflix is a very consumer-focused company.
In 2020, Netflix signed Meghan Markle and Prince Harry to a $100 million agreement. By March 2026, Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos summed it up in just 4 words. That was it. It's over. And somewhere inside a Netflix warehouse, there are said to be £10 million worth of jam jars, honey, and fruit preserves that no one ever purchased.
They are destroying us.
That gap marks the difference between a deal and its final result. $100 million turning into millions of pounds worth of unsold jam, fading out as the exit music plays, and a streaming giant that secured one of the most recognizable women on the planet only to see her series struggle to even enter the global top 300. This isn't a tale of royal controversy. It's a story about return on investment, and the figures involved are far harsher than anything the tabloids have claimed. Most competing videos on this subject focus on opinions, reactions, or ridicule. None have taken the time to break down the financials. No one has actually worked out what Netflix truly paid for.
making new ones.
We are now in the
It's pretty jolly here. Let's go craft.
What they ultimately received, and what the breakdown of this agreement signals for every future celebrity brand partnership, is exactly what we're unpacking today. Chapter 1. The 4-phase financial decline. The $100 million Netflix agreement didn't fail all at once. Instead, it weakened gradually across 4 clear stages, each reflecting a reduced estimate of how valuable Meghan Markle's brand truly was to a major commercial partner. Grasping this timeline is key to understanding everything that follows. Stage 1, 2020. Netflix enters a 5-year, $100 million overall deal with Sussex Productions. From Netflix's perspective, the reasoning is simple. Harry and Meghan have just stepped away from the royal family in what became one of the most high-profile exits in modern British history. Global attention is at its peak. Netflix sees an opportunity to turn that attention into viewing hours and new subscribers. The $100 million price tag is high, but the gamble appears justified. Stage 2, 2022. Harry and Meghan release their Netflix documentary. It performs strongly. It attracts significant viewership. It sparks the kind of global conversation Netflix was counting on to support the investment.
Cozy nights in front of the television, cooking dinner with just the 2 of us by ourselves in our little cottage, rather than going out for dinner and being seen in public. So we reversed the whole process.
This marks the only point in the entire partnership where the business case truly made sense. Music. The documentary effectively became the sole return on a $100 million investment, and Netflix was fully aware of that. Stage 3. July 2025. Netflix quietly scales back the relationship. The original 5-year overall deal is replaced with what's described as a first-look agreement, a far less valuable setup that allows Netflix the option to review projects first, without any obligation to finance their development. In practical terms, this signals that Netflix has reduced the partnership's value to almost nothing, without making any public announcement about stepping away. Stage 4. March 6, 2026. Netflix ends the as ever partnership completely. Ted Sarandos handles the decision personally. What began as a £100 million agreement concludes with £10 million worth of unsold grocery inventory and a CEO who is no longer choosing his words carefully about the outcome. 4 stages, 6 years. The most expensive celebrity brand deal in Netflix's history, concluding with a statement that will likely be analyzed in business schools for years to come. That's it. It's over. Music. But to understand how it reached this point.
Making new friends. That is so good.
We family now.
And just learn.
You need to understand what Netflix actually believed they were purchasing. Chapter 3. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. What Netflix paid for but never truly received. Netflix did not spend $100 million simply on content. Music. That description may be technically correct, but it fails to capture the full commercial reality. Netflix has entered into content deals worth more than $100 million with creators who have far less public recognition than Meghan Markle. This deal was never truly about content. It was about brand power. What Netflix was really buying was access to a royal audience, specifically, the global group of viewers who were emotionally invested in Meghan Markle's story.
Yes, it had a life of its own. So I had this very, very old Ford Explorer Sport, and at a certain point,
And in theory, that attention could have been turned into Netflix subscribers, product sales, and total viewing hours. But that conversion never materialized. With Love, Meghan, the lifestyle series positioned as the commercial anchor of the As Ever partnership, failed to break into Netflix's global top 300 shows. In the streaming world, that's not just underperformance, it's invisibility. Ranking within the top 300 isn't about excellence. It's about basic relevance. Fall below that line, and the engagement is so low that the platform's algorithm barely registers the content as valuable. The As Ever product range, jams, honey, raspberry spread, lemon curd, was meant to sit on top of the content as a monetization layer. The strategy was straightforward. The show builds desire, and the products capture it. That formula works, but only when the content connects. When it doesn't, you're left with merchandise and no real audience, resulting in situations like millions worth of unsold preserves sitting idle. To put the scale into perspective, a $100 million deal at Netflix typically needs to drive around 3 to 4 million new subscribers just to justify the cost on subscription revenue alone. The documentary may have contributed a portion of that. The lifestyle series, however, delivered no measurable impact. Product sales stalled, inventory piled up, and the overall return represented only a small fraction of the original investment. That's not the outcome Ted Sarandos had in mind when the deal was signed.
We started early on. I met Reed Hastings, the founder of the company, in 1999.
And the difference between what was promised and what actually delivered tells the real financial story behind this entire situation. But what makes it even more difficult to justify for Netflix is that they had already witnessed a similar outcome before choosing to invest further. Chapter 3. The warning sign they chose to overlook. In 2022, Meghan Markle introduced Archetypes, a podcast released on Spotify. The deal was reportedly worth around $20 million. It debuted with major media attention, high-profile celebrity guests, and the full influence of the Sussex brand supporting it. Yet by 2023, Spotify pulled the plug. Just 12 episodes, music, and no continuation. Bill Simmons, Spotify's head of talk content, didn't hold back either.
It's just really hard to, the 10 episode, 12 episode, the stuff that...
The serial.
Notably blunt in describing what had unfolded with high-profile celebrity podcast deals overall. The message was unmistakable. The strategy of paying massive sums to celebrities for content that their own audiences don't consistently engage with was proving unsustainable as a long-term business model. $20 million, 1 year, terminated. Netflix moved ahead with the As Ever partnership shortly after Spotify stepped away. That choice deserves close scrutiny because it points either to a lapse in due diligence or to a deliberate gamble that Netflix's financial commitment was significant enough to justify the risk despite Spotify's outcome. In either case, the pattern had already been set and widely reported before Netflix advanced the relationship further. Meghan Markle's brand undeniably drives headlines. It attracts media attention. It sparks the kind of cultural discussion that can make a deal appear compelling in a boardroom setting. What it doesn't consistently deliver, and what Spotify's internal data had already demonstrated before Netflix proceeded, is lasting audience conversion. The public may be intrigued by her narrative, but that curiosity doesn't reliably translate into viewers who watch her shows, purchase associated products, or return to stream her content again and again. That disconnect between publicity value and actual commercial return sits at the heart of this entire situation. Netflix didn't just partner with Meghan Markle, they did so fully aware that Spotify had already exited. That decision carries consequences. And now, we're seeing the cost unfold. Chapter 4.